Today, I'm going to show you how to make really easy gingerbread men cookies. And I'm going to take a bite before this little guy runs away. All right, let's go over ingredients for our gingerbread men. You're going to need 1 cup of butter softened to room temperature, 1 cup of light brown sugar, 1 egg, 1 cup molasses, and this is Grandma's molasses. I can show you guys the jar. I like this brand because it's unsulfured. Sulfur's not the best for you. It's in a lot of dried fruits and things like that, and it really just is not healthy. So if you could find this brand at your grocery store, this is really the best one that I have found to use for this recipe. Then you're going to need 1 tablespoon apple cider vinegar and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. For your dry ingredients, you're going to need 5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon baking soda, a ½ teaspoon of salt, and our yummy spice mix here. It smells so good. You're going to need a tablespoon of ginger, a tablespoon of cinnamon, a ½ teaspoon of allspice, a ½ teaspoon of cloves, and a ¼ teaspoon of cardamon. All right, so we're gonna start with our butter and our sugar mixture. We're gonna get this all mixed together, and then this does unfortunately need to go into your refrigerator for 3 hours or overnight. So if you are pressed for time, this is not the cookie recipe for you. This is something that's gonna be made with love and time. So just remember that and keep that in mind. If you guys have watched any of my other videos, you know I like to put my sugar in and then my butter on top because I just feel like it helps the mixer a little bit more if that butter is not stuck to the bottom. So I always put in my dry ingredients with my butter on top. So I'm just gonna take little pieces of this. All right, so just like that, and then I'm gonna take it over to my mixer and mix it for a little bit until it's nice and creamy and whipped up. And I'll try to show you guys that. It's really hard to kind of see in the video, but I will try again. But it grows in size and it gets lighter in color. And so if you've ever had whipped butter versus just butter out of a block, that's what you're going for. You want that really whippy, fluffy butter, and the sugar helps and it gets all nice and combined, and it's just beautiful for making cookies. Here, it's lighter in color, it's fluffy. Okay, that's where we're going. It's not quite done yet because I still see some chunks of butter in there, but you want it whipped and airy. Okay, so our butter is nice and fluffy and whipped, and I hope that you can see that color and the fluffiness of this. Now we're gonna add in the rest of our wet ingredients. We're gonna add in our molasses. And we're gonna add in our apple cider vinegar, our vanilla, and our egg. Now I'm just gonna take my spatula and I'm just gonna mix a little bit of it together so that it's kind of a little bit combined before I stick it over on my mixer again. And we're gonna take this over to the mixer. Now, before I start mixing that together, I'm gonna go ahead and mix all my dry ingredients together so that I can take it over to the mixer with me and it's just ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in my salt, my baking powder, and all of my yummy spices. And we're just gonna grab a whisk and mix this all together. Ah, this smells so good. I'm gonna grab a measuring cup, just any size. It just helps me add it to my bowl, and I'm just gonna take it over to the mixer. I'll see you over there. All right, so once this is well combined, then you can start adding in your dry mixture. I just add in a couple scoops at a time, and then that way it doesn't get overloaded, and I can make sure that it's all well combined. So once you've added in all your flour, then you just want to mix it until it's pretty well combined, and you don't want to over mix it. So I like to kind of just mix it for a little bit and then I take it off and do the rest with my spatula. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm done mixing it on my mixer, and there's just a few little spots of white flour that I just want to incorporate. So I'm just going to do it with my spatula here. Just kind of flip it around Make sure everything is incorporated. I kind of just swipe it and push it into like a little ball form in the bottom of my mixing bowl here. And then we're gonna cover this and put it in our refrigerator for 3 hours or overnight. So if you're making these the day ahead, overnight's perfect. You will need to set it out on your counter and let it become room temperature again so that you can manipulate the dough. Otherwise it'll be too hard. So you do need to keep that in mind with your time. Same thing if you're doing it for 3 hours, just keep that in mind. It does need to warm up just a little bit. Off to the refrigerator we go. So you're going to want to preheat your oven to 350. So now it's time to roll out our gingerbread man. I went ahead and separated this dough. This is about half of my dough, and then again I separated it in half again because I just want to work with a little bit, because as you know, with any cutout cookie, the more you roll it, the harder the cookie gets. So I just like to work with small batches. So I'm going to take my flour and I'm going to flour my surface. Not a whole lot of flour because you don't want to add extra flour to this. So you just want it really light, just enough that your cookies won't stick. I also dusted my cookie cutter, my little gingerbread man here. And I'm going to take some of that dough and we're just going to roll it out till it's about a quarter, maybe a little thicker than a quarter of an inch thick. All right, so it looks like it's pretty well rolled out here. It's about as thick as I want it. I do sometimes kind of squash in the sides just a little bit just to make sure that it's even and there's not really any thin spots, and then just kind of feel it with my hands to make sure I don't feel anything. So now I'm going to take my gingerbread man, and you want to go as close as you can to all the edges. So like I said, you want to minimize the amount of times that you're rolling this dough, because the cookies get harder and harder the more times that you roll it out. So you really want to try to use as much space as you can. And it's just puzzle fitting, basically. How close can you get to one little man without cutting off any of his body parts? And I go ahead and cut all of mine first, trying not to rip off anybody's arms. And I just kind of peel away all the extra. And then I already prepared my baking sheet. I just really, really lightly put the smallest amount of oil on here. And we're going to put all 5 guys on here. Might even have room for a couple more. Yeah, so I'm going to cut out one more just so we have a full tray. We're going to roll that dough out again. 2 is pretty much my max. If I have to roll it a third time, I'm really hesitant. You can do it. It's just, like I said before, the cookies will start getting hard. So if you feel like your dough is okay, then go ahead and roll it out a third time. But I usually only try to roll it out twice. I could, if I really wanted to, this is a lot of dough, go ahead and try to do it a third time. Sometimes I'll even try to like mash a couple together if it doesn't matter if it's just the kids. They'll eat them even if there's a line through the center of them. Or flip them over and maybe it doesn't look so bad on the other side. All right, so I'm going to take that first batch and put these guys into the oven. We're going to bake them for about 7 to 10 minutes. It just depends on how thick you rolled these, but you want to start seeing some sort of discoloration where it looks like it's browning. Obviously these are brown, so you want to just kind of look for that crust on the bottom around their feet and their head so that you can tell that it's crisped up. So usually anywhere between 7 and 10 minutes at 350. So while our cookies are baking, we're going to make our icing. I don't do a whole lot of icing for our cookies just because our family likes the way that the gingerbread men taste just by themselves, but we are going to add a little bit of detail to them. So you can make as much icing as you want. For this demonstration, I just have a ½ cup of powdered sugar here and about 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. Probably not going to use all of it, but I like to have a little extra. We're just going to slowly add it in here a little bit at a time and just start mixing it together. This helps you get that consistency that you want out of your icing. It's not going to be too thick or too thin. You'll be able to control it if you just go slow. All right, so we're just going to add a little bit more because it's kind of pasty. I want it more runny. little bit better. I would say we're kind of at like a glue texture right now, which will work great if you're just gonna use it for like dipping in your sprinkles and then putting it on your cookie, but I want mine a little bit more runny, so I'm gonna add a little bit more, just barely. Okay, icing is really one of those things that you really have to just play with until you get it to the consistency that you want it to be at. I want it a tiny bit more runny, so I'm adding in more. All right, I think that's gonna be great. I'm gonna put it in this little squeezable container that I have here. It works great for decorating cookies. I can put these in the link below. I love these for when I make sugar cookies. They have awesome little tips on them, and they can control the icing or frosting or whatever you're using to decorate cookies, and they're perfect for little hands to be able to come in and squeeze and decorate those cookies for Christmas. All right, I'm gonna set that aside. It sounds like our cookies are done, so I'm gonna pull those out. And look at that, none of them ran away. All right, I'm gonna add my icing into my funnel here and get it into my little container. All right, and now it's time to decorate. I'm just gonna take my icing here if I can get the cap off. I have a couple little containers of some sprinkles. We've got some Red Hots here, some little snowflakes, and some little Christmas buttons. And we're just gonna decorate these guys. Hopefully you have some Christmas cuties in your house too that can help you finish decorating these gingerbread men. This is always such a fun activity day in our house. We love making the gingerbread men, and then we often read the gingerbread man story, which is just so fun, and it makes it feel like the holidays. We hope you guys enjoyed this recipe, and we'll see you in the next one.